The crucial Ballistix RGB is part of the new series of RAM modules, which replaces the older Ballistix Sport, Tactical and the high-end Ballistic Elite RAM kits. The kit featured in today's review has a frequency of 3600 MHz and a total capacity of 32GB in a 2-stick configuration. So you basically get 2 sticks of RAM in the package, each with a total capacity of 16GB. The timings of this RAM kit are 16, 18, 18, 38 with an operating voltage of 1.35 volts. The kit of memory also has a low-profile heatsink, which will make it compatible with most CPU coolers available on the market. A major advantage, especially since many RAM kits are using TAL heatsinks and taller RGB elements, aiming for that unique look that will differentiate the product on the market. The height of each RAM module is approximately 38mm, while the weight of the module is 40 grams. One major difference between this kit and the one I reviewed previously is that this kit is fully RGB compatible and features numerous patterns and LEDs integrated into the top of not only the heatsink but the RAM stick itself. These modules are available in 3 different colors: black, red and the one featured in our review, white. These RAM kits are also compatible with the following RGB control systems: ASRock, Polychrome Sync, ASUS Aura, Gigabyte RGB Fusion and the MSI Mystic Light Sync. The heatsink is made from solid metal and it is attached to the RAM stick with the help of some thermal pads which make the contact with the memory chips and the inner side of the heatsink. Removing the heatsink is fairly easy as the glue on the thermal pads is soft and easy to handle. However, I will urge care when removing them, and I will say that if you have a hairdryer to heat them up beforehand, that would make the removal process much easier and especially safer for the PCB and the RAM chips. The graphics present on these RAM modules are simple in design and few in number, and to be completely honest, this is a rare thing these days. There is a Ballistix by Crucial logo placed on the center of the RAM stick, while a paper label is placed on the opposite side of the module. The before mentioned label contains the important technical information of each RAM stick. This includes the model number, timings and operating voltage. Lastly, there is the Ballistix logo again, placed at the top of the heatsink right on the plastic white diffuser. This means that you are going to get to see the Ballistix logo even when the RAMs are completely lit up by their RGB LEDs. With the heatsink removed, we get to see more of these RAM modules. The Ballistix RGB uses an all-black PCB, which also has a double-sided design. This means basically that the memory chips are installed on both sides of the PCB. The memory chips used have the model number C9BKV. These are newer Micron-made memory chips which have from the factory better timings and a bigger overall overclocking potential. In fact, with just a quick search on the wide web, you can find some examples of RAM kits using these memory chips hitting as much as 4600 MHz overclocked. However, we won't be trying such extreme overclocking, but we will try some. Still on the PCB, we have a little chip which might get unnoticed, but we saw it. This has the model number 6K5830UA0. This little chip is in fact a microcontroller that has as its main function the total control of the integrated RGB LEDs. This includes everything from the light patterns to the light intensity or the colors. This chip is manufactured by the company called NE Technologies and is used in many other RAM kits that have RGB LEDs integrated on the PCB. Speaking of RGB, the RGB integration is done tastefully as all LEDs are placed on the upper side of the PCB with a white semi-transparent plastic beam installed above them. There are multiple patterns and colors available to choose from. However, by default, the modules will light up in a fast-paced vertical color cycle pattern. If you want to change these patterns, all you have to do is access your motherboard's RGB software, which has been mentioned before. Once installed, the RAM kit will boot up usually at its advertised speed. However, to make sure that it does run at the desired speed, you need to open up the BIOS and select the XMP profile that is available from the manufacturer. Once that is done, this kit will run at its advertised speed of 3600 MHz. The platform for testing all the RAM kits, unless otherwise noted, is composed out of an Intel i9 9900K CPU running at the factory frequency and an MSI RTX 2070 Super Trio Edition graphics card, also running at its factory settings. The motherboard is an ASRock Z390 Phantom Gaming X and the power supply is a Seasonic Snow Silent 750 watts Platinum. We start our testing with Shadow of the Tomb Raider, running at 1080p and with the Ultra preset enabled. Also, Pure Hair is set to low and the game is running in DirectX 12 mode. And in this game we get to see the benefit of not only higher frequency but also lower timings. This Ballistix RGB memory kit reached an average frame rate of 135 frames per second, with the low 1% at 102 and the 0.1% at 96 frames per second. However, when we use the kit overclocked to 4000 MHz, things don't really change that much, as with this frequency, the kit reaches an average frame rate of 137 frames per second with the low 1% at 104 frames per second and the 0.1% at a steady 100 frames per second. This shows why it is important to have good timings and good frequency rather than just have high frequency but bad timings. Obviously, more performance can be gained by lowering the timings and adjusting the settings in the BIOS for the optimal balance between frequency, timings, and of course voltage. But that takes time and is not really that relevant in our review because each RAM kit overclocks differently. The next test involves the memory benchmark found within the IDA64 Extreme software. In this test, all the kits are tested using their factory XMP profile, as overclocking, again, just adds another metric to the graph. However, it cannot really be replicated as each kit will overclock differently. In fact, even if I change the motherboard or some other component that is linked to the RAM kit, the result will be skewed. And in this test, the Ballistix Gaming RGB is ahead of everyone, mostly thanks to the higher frequency and the good timings from the factory, although the copy segment of this benchmark could have been higher as a number. The next test involves the Cinebench R15 benchmark. Don't worry, testing for both single and multi-thread with Cinebench R20 will come in the future, have some patience. And in this test, the Ballistix Gaming RGB reached a maximum CPU score of 2090 and has an OpenGL score of 194.4 frames per second. Again, we see the obvious in these graphs, as the higher frequency is beneficial in most if not all of these synthetic benchmarks. And finally, we have Super P 1.5 with the 32 modes selected for the benchmark. This test is mostly about raw processing power, as it calculates a number and counts the time spent while doing so. Obviously, the lower the number, the better the performance is. And in this test, the Ballistix Gaming RGB reached a maximum number of 422.5 seconds, which again places this kit in the first place. The crucial Ballistix Gaming RGB is certainly a good RAM kit, not only because it uses Micron-made memory chips which are known for reliability, but also because of its good performance in all tests, gaming included. The overall design of this kit is good. It is in fact minimalistic, as it has no excessive paintwork or stickers placed on the heatsink, or especially this, unnecessary tall heatsink or plastic shrouds for, you know, the glorious RGB. Speaking of which, the RGB implementation is done in a tasteful manner. Sure, it is bright and flashy as everything RGB is, but it is not overblown and does not completely wash out everything inside your system, especially if you have a white case or a white motherboard. An additional benefit found in the case of this kit and its RGB implementation is that it is compatible with all motherboard RGB software found on the market. This is important because you do not require additional software to be installed to control and use the RGB functions of this RAM kit. In the case of the Ballistix Gaming RGB, everything is controlled by your motherboard and its software. Software which, by the way, most likely it is already installed in your system. So overall, you have less software installed and a lighter footprint in your operating system. The overclocking potential is great, as I was able to overclock this kit from the advertised speed of 3600 MHz to 4000 MHz with no issues. In fact, all I had to do was to increase the voltage from 1.35 to 1.4 volts and the kit was ready to go. As always, I would recommend everyone to not go for the maximum frequency possible and try to get the best possible combination for lower timings and higher frequency with a decent voltage. All this being said, this kit shows potential, mostly thanks to the new Micron-made memory chips, which so far have a good track record for overclocking. The price of the Ballistix Gaming RGB 32GB 3600 MHz is around $190 or euros, a good price when considering that other kits which have a capacity of 16GB instead of the 32 here are priced $20 to $30 lower. But 16GB are 16GB, especially nowadays with massive AAA games. To be completely honest, This RAM kit is right in the middle of the price range for DDR kits with this capacity and frequency. It could have been cheaper, yes, but the overall package is worth the asking price, especially since these RAM kits are available in different color variants and both in RGB and non-RGB models. If you liked this review, then you can perhaps consider subscribing for more, and also if you want to support the channel in a direct way, then in the description below you can find linked both the Patreon and subscriber star pages of the channel.